The beginning of an interview with Frank Aceves at Congressman David Driver's office located in Glendora, California. Mr. Aceves is 59 years old, having been born on October 7th, 1945. My name is Keith Lees, and I will be the interviewer. Well, thank you for being here today. I think we should start out with you telling me where you were born and where you grew up and a little bit of background.
Okay, I was born in Brawley, California. It's about 120 miles east of San Diego. And I was born in October 7th, 1945 in Brawley, California.
Okay. And how long did you live there for?
I lived there for 20 years.
Okay. And what about your parents? Where were your parents from?
My parents are from Mexico.
Okay.
My mom is from a state called Sinaloa. My dad is from Sonora.
Okay. And do you want to give their names for the record?
Sure. My mom is Ernestina Acosta. And my father, I never met. I understand his name is Cheno.
Okay.
That's about it.
Okay. So you grew up until you were 20. What was high school like? Did you graduate?
I graduated from high school.
Okay.
I went on to college. High school was difficult for me.
Okay.
I was a C student. I tried to take some college prep courses, and they were extremely difficult for me.
So, why did you end up joining the military?
I was attending a junior college, and I noticed after a year and a half that I wasn't applying myself. My grades showed it. I was there because my friends were there.
Were you worried about being drafted?
Yes, I was. I was, and that was another reason I was in college. And once the third semester was up, and I look at my grades, I figured, I'm 20 years old. I'm wasting my time, and that's when I decided to enlist.
And which branch did you enlist in?
The Navy.
Okay. How long were you in the Navy for total?
3 years, 9 months.
And do you remember what it was like your first day that you went in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell me about it?
It was an eye-opener in that you got people yelling at you, telling you what to do, yelling at you for no reason whatsoever other than just to yell because you can hear them perfectly well. If they were to speak to you in a normal tone of voice, you could hear them. And that was one of that was the military way. You have to get used to it. And I remember the first night, this guy woke me up at midnight, and he says to me, "You have the watch." I had no idea what he was talking about. I said, "What do you mean I have the watch?" I thought he was asking me, "Do I have a watch?" And I said, "Yeah, man. You want to know what time it is?" He goes, "No, you have the watch. You have to get up and you have to walk around. You're a fire watch." And to me, that was something brand new to me. I had no idea that was one of the things that you do when you're in the military. You stand guard, you stand watches, you stand switchboard watches, depending on what you do. So it was a trip, believe me. The other was the different people from different parts of the U.S. We had a lot of Filipinos that were there also.
Yeah.
At the time, yeah, they admitted him into the military.
So what else stood out to you during boot camp?
The education, boot camp for sailors is more boot camp than it is for, as compared to the Army, the Marines. There's a lot of physical training. In the Navy, it's more education. We sat in a classroom a lot.
What would they teach you?
They would teach us military life in general and life on board ship. And being on board ship, what you needed to do to survive in case of an emergency. Say the ship is sinking, there's a fire, you don't dial 911, you are 911.
Mm-hmm.
You are the one to take care of business. And depending on what you did on that ship, that's what you did to try and save that ship. Okay.
So how long was boot camp?
It was 13 weeks.
Wow.
It was a while.
And so when that ended, I mean, during that time, did you form some sort of camaraderie with the other men? What was it like?
You can't help but form a camaraderie because you eat, sleep, everything as a team. And that was something else that they taught us, to work as a team. You rely on each other.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't help but get close to these guys. You sleep with them, you shower with them, you shave, you eat, you smoke, you socialize. A little bit of socializing that there was, it's all this group of individuals.
What would you do when you socialize? How would you socialize when you had time?
It was right after the evening meal.
Would it be cards? I mean, what would you do?
You'd smoke. You'd go and have a cigarette. And because that was really one of the few times that you had to yourself, was right after chow, because then right after that you have to wash your clothes, you have to go shower, and you have to get ready for bed. So there was very little socializing in that. You just didn't hang out.
Were you happy when boot camp ended?
Absolutely.
Ecstatic? What was the last day of boot camp like?
It was where we marched on the grinder. They call it this huge parking lot. They call it the grinder, and we march. We march before the dignitaries, the admirals, and the captains that run the training center. And you do it.
Was it exciting?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because you're doing it in your dress blues, your top uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that that's the last time that you're going to have to do that. And you're out of there. See, by that time we have our orders. We know exactly where we're going.
What were your orders?
My first orders were to Midway Island.
And did you go to Midway?
Yes.
What did you do at Midway?
I was stationed on board a tugboat, the YTB 776, and my intent was to become an electrician.
Mm-hmm.
And I made that known in boot camp, because in boot camp they ask you, what do you want to do? And I told them, I said, well, something having to do with engineering. And it just so happens that there was an electrician on board that tugboat. And it made me more interested. And one of the higher-ups, one of the chiefs on board that tugboat was also an electrician. But our duty was to assist ships coming into the harbor. We'd go up to them, we'd tie, and we'd either push or pull, having them go around the reef.
Wow.
And tie them up.
So, what would you do on the boat while the boat was doing all this? What was your duty?
When we were tied up, a lot of what you do in the military is maintenance. We took care of the ship.
Okay.
If we needed to paint, we painted. If we needed to fix, we fixed. And then when we're underway, because it is this, the tugboat is run by a diesel engine, you stand on watch. You're down there. And as a just in case, if something should happen, and just overall be the eyes, because you're down in the hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if something happens and there's nobody there, then so to prevent that, you stand and watch.
So how long were you in the Midway?
In Midway for 1 year.
Oh. 1 year. And what else went on while, I mean, you'd go on these missions, I mean, was there anything else that went on?
Absolutely. Midway Island is a small city.
Okay.
There's civilians there. There's an airport. A lot of the sailors there have their families there. It's a community.
Okay.
It's a big time community. We have theaters, a bowling alley, we have the
So
beach.
you get leave, you go and have, what, free time? Or
Sure,
what?
sure. It was just like having a job, a 9-to-5 job,
Mm-hmm.
and after your duties were up during the day, you could go anywhere you wanted to. You could go to the show, you could go to the beach, you could go to the club, have a beer. It was up to you.
And how much were they paying you at this point?
Very little. I would say $100 a month.
Wow.
Very. Pay was very, very low. Very, very low. And it was low also because of my rank. I'm just out of boot camp. I'm an E2, which is just above an E1. An E1 is a recruit, and I'm an E2. So it wasn't until a year or two later that I was finally making some money because I moved up in rank.
Okay, so while you were there for a year, would you keep contact with your family?
Yes, by mail, by phone.
Did you have a girlfriend at that time?
Yes, I did.
And would you keep contact with her as well?
Yes, I did.
So, where'd you go after Midway?
I went to school in San Diego.
Okay, what did you go to school for?
Electrician.
Okay.
It's called Electrician's Mate A School.
Okay.
And there they start with the basics. They start with the atom, the very basic, and then you work up to motors, transformers, marine electrical systems,
Mm-hmm.
that kind of thing.
And what else would you do while you were in San Diego taking classes?
It was, I took care of business there in that here I am, I'm 21, I have a goal now. I know what I want.
What was your goal?
To be an electrician and to move up in rank as fast as I could.
Okay.
One of the things that they did there was you not only went to school during the day, but they had tutoring in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I did. I applied myself, and then I graduated from there.
And how did you feel when you graduated and you achieved your goal?
It felt good because while I was there, I moved up in rank.
What was your rank?
An E4.
Okay. So from E2 to E4 then?
No, while I was on Midway, I went to E3.
Okay, so now you're in E4.
So now I'm an E4, and ranks has its privileges. Now I am I'm the head of the class. Okay, I tell the guys what to do. I head of the chow line privileges. I don't have to stand in line with the rest of the class. I can walk all the way up to the front and go eat.
Except, of course, when there was only 5 up there.
He wouldn't eat in the same chow hall.
Ah,
See,
so there's privileges with that.
Absolutely. They have their own chow hall, E5, E6. And we not only have privileges, but then we have higher pay. And with a higher rank comes responsibility.
Okay, what sort of responsibilities would an E4 have?
While I was in school was to keep the class in order, have no one get out of line. If they needed to see someone beyond the instructor, they went through me.
Wow.
See, they had to ask for permission. And then, I always granted that permission, but it was protocol.
They'd have to ask.
Those are the steps you
Just
follow, just
okay.
because.
Okay.
See.
So how long, after San Diego, where do you go from there?
While in San Diego, when you are at a station, you are given a sheet to put down where you would like to be stationed.
Where do you want to go?
I volunteered for Vietnam.
Yeah. You asked for Vietnam. What were your other options?
Ships
Okay.
or stations, San Diego, Alameda up in San
And
Francisco.
you decided I want to go to Vietnam. Why did you want to go to Vietnam?
I wanted to go.
No reason.
Well, I'm sure I had a reason. I wanted to serve my country.
Looking back, are you glad you made that decision?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I would do it again in a minute.
So you obviously got your choice.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you go to Vietnam. Where do you go in Vietnam? Saigon?
I flew into Saigon. Prior to going to Vietnam, though, we had to go through a training process in Coronado.
Where's going on?
It's by San Diego.
Okay.
And there, they teach you counterinsurgency techniques. And those techniques...
What sort of techniques? Explain that to me.
For example, how to recognize the enemy.
Okay.
And the difficulty there is that the enemy was amongst you.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in Saigon, you didn't know who friend or foe.
So what did they teach you? How did you...
To be aware of your surroundings. Okay, be aware, for example, at that time, the big thing was to put a bike someplace and fill the bike up with explosives. And I don't remember if it killed you, but it maimed you.
Mm-hmm.
It hurt you.
Yeah, obviously.
It wasn't like it is today, where the roadside bombs where they kill a bunch of troops. There, it was more like a nuisance. And then other things too, how to take care of yourself because you're in the jungle. There's a chance of malaria. Take your malaria pills. Keep yourself healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Eat right, sleep right, get plenty of rest. That kind of thing. They emphasized it. And then they also sent us to Camp Pendleton for weapons training. Marines taught us how to shoot machine guns.
How were you with a weapon?
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because the idea was that if we had to shoot it, we'd know how.
Yeah.
Like the
Which is
45,
important.
yeah, the 35 caliber, 30 caliber rifle, machine gun, a shotgun. Because on board the boats that I worked on, because of the close proximities,
Shotguns.
the guys had shotguns.
Nice weapon.
Yeah, close range defense. But I flew into Saigon, and then once I was there for a day or two, then I got sent out to Dongtan.
How long were you in Dongtan?
I was there a year.
So what was that? Was that the only place you were until your career ended, or did you go somewhere after Dongtan?
The year that I spent in Vietnam was spent in Dongtan.
Okay. So tell me about Dongtan.
Dongtan was a base that was generated to go after the insurgents in the Delta, which is not too far from Saigon, about 40 miles southwest of Saigon. And this base was generated to combat these individuals using riverboats. Some of these riverboats are converted World War II landing crafts with the ramp, and they added armament, they added this foam material that if they got hit and they took water, they would not sink. And they added armament to it. And there were other boats that were also used there. And I worked on those riverboats. I pulled maintenance, I did repairs, and anything else that came up. I did that for 6 months, and then the last 6 months that I was there, I was in charge of the maintenance of the YRBN-17. It was like being the head electrician on that barge.
Okay. What were your first impressions when you got off the plane in Saigon?
It was, I was awestruck because of the noise, the dust, the amount of traffic, bicycles, scooters, little bitty cars, people. It was unbelievable. I had never been exposed to something like that. And I was so in awe of what was going on that I remember walking down the street with another guy that flew over on the same day, and we came across this officer, and we didn't salute him because we were like, wow, look at this, look at that. And he jumped all over us, and he wanted to know why we had disrespected him by not saluting him. And I told him, sir, we just got off the plane. To be honest with you, I said, I am scared as hell because of what I see. I said, believe me, in no way did I mean to disrespect you. And I saluted him twice. And I apologized. And I guess he saw how the two of us were reacting to our surroundings. It was incredible. Because you go from a situation here in the States to somewhere like that, like day and night. There is no prepping you for that.
What did he say?
He just chewed us out. He could care less what we were experiencing. He was upset because we didn't salute him. So we did.
Twice?
Twice, yeah.
So what other encounters did you have in Vietnam?
There was an incident the 30th of May of 1968. And once a month, we had treats in the chow hall where they would serve us steaks. And they would make them according to our taste. And I remember I was working on this boat, and I got delayed in working on it. There was a problem with it, and I didn't get to the chow hall like an hour after I normally get there. Well, because of what they do once a month, there's this long line. And it took me a while to get in. And while I'm there, we started getting attacked. There's a mortar attack, rocket attack. And of course the alarm goes off, and you can hear them. You can hear them falling around us. And here I am, I'm eating my steak. And I'm debating, do I go to the bunker or do I eat my steak? Because it was a treat to get that, and here I was being interrupted. My priorities were a little screwed up there. So I finally go into the bunker, and I'm in there for 10, 15 minutes, and nothing is going on. And this bunker is just packed with the guys, and it's hot, and it's dusty, and it's dirty, everybody's sweating, and I'm thinking of my steak, right? And I says, the hell with this. I'm going to go eat my steak. As I get out of the bunker, I heard the telltale sound of a rocket. And it sounds like right over my head. And about 50, 75 yards in front of me, the dirt went like that. And I said, that's it. I went back in the bunker, and I stayed there until we got the all clear sign. And what it did, it made me realize that get your priorities straight. Get with the program, because being there for 5, almost 6 months, you get the feeling that you're indestructible. No one's going to hurt you. There's no way that a bullet is going to find you. And that made me realize that, yes, it can. So what happened, because of that, normally by this time, I am back alongside the barge, having our cigarettes, talking about this, talking about that. Well, a rocket hit that same exact spot where we were standing. And a bunch of guys got hit. And one of them, pretty bad that he wound up in the hospital. The rest of them just wound up with little pieces of shrapnel. But I would have been there, normally. On any other day, I would have been there. So that was the other thing that I had to realize, that it could happen to me, just like it happened to my buddies. And
did you have any other encounters while you were there? Or were you pretty fortunate?
I was fortunate. I was never really involved in direct combat. We were always getting mortared, always getting rocket attacks.
Never knew where it was coming from?
No. Well, we knew.
Oh, you knew?
We knew because security was provided by the Army. You could see where they had their stations made up of sandbags. Ever so many yards around the base. You could see it. But a lot of the rockets came from across the river, maybe a mile or two away.
Ah.
See, so you can tell.
You never knew.
I do know that.
So they never knew what they were firing at either. They just were shooting in a general area.
Right. They would just like lob them. And the thing is that one night during a Tet Offensive, this is another incident. It was more harassment. It was more, they would fire rockets, they would wake us up, we'd go to general quarters, and we would be at general quarters for an hour or two. And this is starting at 11, 12 o'clock at night, going to 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. So consequently, we would not get a good night's sleep. And here we'd have to get up at 6 and work on those boats. It didn't matter if you got any sleep or not. So one night, I opened up a porthole, and I was able to look out into this bay that was generated to bring the boats in. And I could see the rockets hitting the water. And how it works with a mortar is they adjust the elevation. And it's, as they refer to it, they walk it in. They fire around, they adjust the elevation, so now the next one hits closer. So I can see them, and it's going splash, splash, and it's coming right towards us, splash, and I figure it's gonna hit us. It goes splash, and then it goes pow. It went right over us and started hitting the dirt. Pow, pow, pow. Wow. It just missed us by that much. So you realize, I had my flak jacket on, I had my helmet on, and you're like this, you're protecting your body. So in case we do get hit from overhead, you're covered. I go back to the rack, and I would leave my flak jacket on. I wouldn't take it off.
I don't blame you. So, did you ever interact with any of the Vietnamese people while you were there?
We did, because we were on the barge, and we're right next to this base. A lot of the civilians came from this town called Mito, about 5 miles away, and they would come, and they would do laundry. They would work in the chow hall and various other jobs. They would not work on the barge where we were. And somebody said one day that we never got mortared when they were in the base. It was always after they left. And so interacting as far as working with them, no, I never did that. It wasn't until later, way later, about 9 months. After I was there about 9 months, in October, November of '68, that they bring Vietnamese sailors to work alongside of us.
Wow. What was that like?
It was difficult because they were very limited in speaking English. And you have a set of plans, and you're trying to show them how to maintain the boats and how it works. They knew how it worked because, they would say the term, for example, for an oil pressure switch. once the pressure builds up, it activates that switch, and there's a gauge that tells you. They would recognize that. So we were able to communicate via the plants. See, this is oil. And there was one that knew a little bit of English, so he would tell the other one, oh, okay, that kind of thing. And we would communicate that. But it was tough. But eventually we did.
Tell me about your relationships with other sailors, other soldiers, other Americans in Vietnam.
It was overall good relationships, very good. Because one of the things they taught us in boot camp is how to work as a team. You're a team member, you have a job to do, and if you do your job well, then it will complement whatever your partner's doing. But there were incidents where some guys, depending on what part of the States they were from, there was racism, blatant racism, big time.
Towards you?
Oh yeah, and they could care less. No one would say anything. I would just have to call them on and say, hey, dude, not here.
And what would they say to you?
They would just blow me off. But I would call it to their attention that I was not there to tolerate it.
Now, did anyone under you in rank ever do anything?
No, we were all equal. Pretty much equal. If someone below rank did anything out of the ordinary, I had the option of him being written up, but I never did. We all had a job to do. Mm-hmm. And it was more important to get those boats running.
Than worry about something.
Yeah. You just call it to their attention.
So, what else went on during that period that maybe we even covered that you were there?
In December of '68, Bob Hope visited us.
Did you get to see that?
I got to see it. We waited about 4 or 5 hours for him. He at that time in December of '68, it was Ann Margaret, Rosie Greer, this group called the Gold Diggers, and they did the thing. They sang, they danced, they played. And we had some bleachers built, and the troops that were in the front row were the combat troops, and we were way in the back, which was okay. It's fine with me. The thing is that we waited 4 or 5 hours, and you're in the sun, you're sitting on a hard bench, and a lot of the guys just left, said, "Forget this, man." But once the show got going, it was fun. I went to Bangkok on R&R while I was there, after being away for 6 months, or rather being there for 6 months. I went to Bangkok, so I got to see that part of the country. That is also eye-opening, because it's a different culture. It's unbelievable. If you've never been exposed to it, and now you're right in the middle of it, because you fly over there with sailors, airmen, Marines, Army personnel. Depending on where you want to go is where you go, because you have so many choices as to where you can go. And you just hook up and you go and you pick the hotel that you want to stay, and then in the evening we would go and party. They have clubs, and they're all just full of young girls, and you go in and you dance with them, you drink with them, and then you take them home. A lot of fun. That was what you did.
How, seeing these places in other parts of the world, specifically that area, did it give you a greater appreciation of what we had in the States?
Absolutely. Especially when in Vietnam you went to the bathroom, and the bathroom is a hole in the floor that's over a river. That's it. There's no running water, and if there is, they tell you stay away from it. Don't even wash your hands in it.
Why?
Because of the bacteria in it. It's pretty bad. And even in Bangkok, drink the bottled water. Don't drink anything in a restaurant, for example.
So, when do you leave?
I left Vietnam in January of 1969.
And how did you feel when you left?
It was a good feeling, because I knew that every day someone was not going back. During that time, 200, 300, 400 troops a week were dying. It was an incredible number. So I was very fortunate that I was out of there.
Where did you go?
I went home on leave for 30 days, and then again, while I was in Vietnam, I put in for a ship, and I got it. A repair ship out of Alameda, USS Delta, AR-9,
So you got to be a little closer to home.
up in Alameda by San Francisco.
How long did you do that for?
The remainder of my enlistment, which was about 9-10 months. I had originally signed up for 4 years, but while I was on board that ship, they had an early out, so I got out 3 months early.
Okay.
So instead of serving 4 years, I served 3 years, 9 months.
And what were your thoughts now that you were out of combat and you were working on a ship? It was probably relatively easy for you.
It was, I had a different perspective in that being on board that ship was a piece of cake, big time. And when I would hear other sailors complain about this and that, I would just lay it on them. I says, you know what? You have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Spend a year in Nam, and then come back and then tell me if you still feel the same.
If the ship's that bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't bad. I mean, it's air conditioned. You get 3 meals a day. You get freshwater showers.
You didn't have to wake up in the middle of the night to be on
No.
general quarters.
Now one of the on Midway Island, because I was on that tugboat, you may not think that it may be a big deal, but we got to shower with fresh water
Wow.
because we were on the tugboat.
Okay.
Everybody else on the island got to shower with brackish water. You can shower, but you can't drink it. See, on Midway Island and in Vietnam we made our own water. We purified our own water.
Wow.
So all our showers, we had hot showers, fresh water. Everyone else on base, no such luck.
Wow.
Same thing on board ship. Everything is fresh. We generate our own water, purified water, and it's air conditioned. When I was in Nam, that barge had an air conditioned compartment. We slept in 72 degrees.
You slept good.
Oh yeah, we did. And we needed that rest to work on the boat because a day could be 10, 12, 14 hours. If a boat came in damaged, it didn't matter what time it was. You worked on it and you worked on it until it got fixed, and then it went back out. See?
So, what did you do for a career after your military service?
When I was on board that ship, because we are electricians, this one guy told me about the union, the IBEW, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And he says, if you're interested in becoming an electrician, look into it. And I did.
And where did you go from there?
I was a member of the union for almost 26 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what did you work on? What was the main job that you would do? Was it all over? Was it for one company? And how did that work, the IBEW?
How it works is you have a hiring hall. And there is a list of individuals, and this list is what you refer to as the out-of-work list. And if I went in there today and signed the books, as we call it, because I finished this job and I want to sign the books, I'm the last on the books. Whereas if someone that has been in there a week, 2 weeks, he's closer to the top. So in the mornings when they post the jobs that are available, who's ever close to the top of the list has first choice.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And that's how it works. And it worked really well for me because as an apprentice, I was 30 years old when I went into the apprenticeship program. It took me 4 years to get in there. But once I'm in there, I'm 30 years old, I'm married, I have a kid, I have a house, I have responsibility. I'm not there to mess around. So consequently, the people that I work for recognize that. I was there on time, I'm responsible, I do what I'm told, I do the job right. When you turn on the switch, the light works. Okay?
Which is important to most people.
Absolutely. And the thing in construction, you don't want to do things twice.
No.
It costs money. Labor is very expensive. So consequently, people that I work for recognized it, and when they moved on,
They want you to come back.
they would want me to go with them.
You had a reputation.
Yes, and I did that with this one individual from Carroll Electric Company, and I was with him for 10 years, working as a foreman, general foreman, project manager.
Well, let's, you mentioned that you had responsibilities. Why don't you tell me about how you met your wife?
My family and her family go back to Mexico.
Okay.
They have known each other for a long time. And I remember as a young kid, they would come and visit on their way from Mexico to up north, Sacramento. And I may have been 12 when I remember that they would come by and visit, and I would say hello, and I remembered. But it wasn't until after I got out of the service that they happened to come by the house. And here is this 19-year-old young lady that I had seen maybe 10 years before as a 9-year-old. And we're 5 years old, I'm 5 years older. You know, I'm 14, she's 9, and I'm going. But now that I see her as a 19-year-old, so we got to talking and we hit it off. And a couple of years after that, we got married.
And what's her name?
Sandra.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been married 34 years.
And you have how many children?
I have 2. I have a daughter, Elisa.
Mm-hmm.
She's 29, and my son, Frank Anthony, is 25.
Wow.
And I have a grandson that's 9, Gabriel.
Okay.
Yeah, she just completed first year law school, University of Laverne.
Wow.
And Frank Anthony is a senior at Cal State Fullerton.
So tell me what you think the military has done to help you in your career, your life. What do you think it gave you that maybe you didn't have before the military?
Discipline.
Okay. And how did it give you that? Taking orders? When to lead, when to follow? Which?
They have a system, primary and foremost, they yell at you. And they yell at you for a reason. Is so that you hear what they're saying. If you hear what they're saying, they want you to understand what they're saying, and that there's no misunderstanding on what needs to be done and what they want you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So consequently, you learn to listen so that you can get your instructions. And from that comes your responsibility to follow through and get it done right.
Yeah.
Get it done right the first time and make it work. So consequently, what they teach you is all of that and more. Okay, to be goal-oriented,
Mm-hmm.
to better yourself, to move ahead, to want to move up. Because they tell you that the sooner you move up in rank, you not only will have more responsibility, but your pay's going to go up. And you will have privileges that you don't have now. See, so they paint a picture where that if you work hard, you're going to move up, you're going to be better off. And I did that. I was able to do that as an electrician, as a foreman, as a general foreman, as a superintendent. Then I try to convey what needed to be done, and I would provide the information that they needed to get it done, as well as materials. And it worked. And I expected them to follow through. And see, the thing with the union is that if they don't, you fire them, you get somebody else. That's the beauty of it. And 99% of the time, you're backed up in that. Because if you show up to work, it's because you want to go to work, not to mess around, not to show up late. That's the thing with the military. They teach you to be prompt. Because one of the things I've always remembered and I have never forgotten is we were late to something one time. And somebody said, but sir, we were only 3 minutes late. And he says, do you know how many ships were sunk in Pearl Harbor in 3 minutes? See, so he put it in perspective. And you don't forget that. So it stays with you. I try and be on time. I try and give myself
If you're on time, you're late.
time to be on time.
If you're on time, you're late.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds like my football coach.
Gotta have a plan B. Gotta have a backup plan.
Is there anything that we haven't covered in your life some part that maybe you can add that we haven't covered?
Yes, my stepfather, Johnny Acosta,
Mm-hmm.
he died about 20 years ago. He served in World War II.
Okay.
And I remember stories he would tell us
Do you want to share one?
about, he was not involved in combat. He was more, he was a cook, he was a barber. And I remember one incident where this officer went and woke him up. And as a cook, if you work all night, you get to sleep during the day. And he went and woke him up and yelled at him, and he wanted to know why was it he was sleeping, why wasn't he working. And eventually the officer apologized to him because he was unaware of what my stepfather had done. And the other thing is there's some individuals that are on the wall that they will never have the opportunity to tell their stories. One of them is Florencio Marquez. He is from my hometown of Westmoreland. Our hometown at the time had 1,400 people. He's the only one that died in Nam, and he was killed by friendly fire. Our own troops shot him. And I remember going home on leave one time, and he wanted to buy me a beer. And he was 20 years old, and he hadn't joined then. And I remember the bartender would not sell him a beer because his ID showed that he wasn't 21. So he's one individual that I hope is remembered. The other is David Nunez. He was from the next town over. We went to high school together. And my understanding is he threw himself on a grenade to save the other troops. And there's quite a few individuals that have passed on from Westmoreland. Ignacio Sanchez, Raymond Abundes, that served, and they're no longer here. And I just want to mention their names. You know, there's others, Edward Abundes, Joe Mendez, Jesse Enriquez, Ali Slally, Leroy Dickerson. And these are all individuals that are my age, or they're a year or two younger or older than I am. And the other thing is, the best thing that has happened to me is that I joined the military, because it made a man out of me, more of a man than I was already. And it gave me the sense of direction, and it gave me the ability to make decisions. Right or wrong, you make a decision, right or wrong, and that's very important. And it helped me tremendously in my career as an electrician, and in the ability to lead men, and to be able to lead them in difficult circumstances.
We'll have one final question for you. In 100 years, when someone's watching this, family member, historian, is there something that you've learned in your life, some words of wisdom that you can share with them?
Yeah, it's one thing is it's nothing new. Freedom is not free. It comes at a big sacrifice, and there are those of us that are willing to put ourselves on the line to maintain that freedom, and a lot of us do not come back. A lot of us do come back and are willing to talk about it, and I respect that. But it's important to let it be known how you feel, and it's important to find someone that will listen to you and not judge you. And it has happened twice to me where, as a volunteer at the wall in the city of Covina, I had an individual come up and he says, I have a buddy, he says, and he's right over there. And he is so emotional that he cannot talk about his experiences. And it happened that this guy that is telling me this is an electrician like me in the union. So we get to talking, and he calls his buddy over, and his buddy is also an electrician. And he goes, "Hey, dude," he says, "come here, man." He says, "I want you to meet Frank." He says, "He's a member of our local." And he starts to talk to me, and he says to me, he says, "Were you over there?" I said, "Yeah, I was over there." And I was able to get him to talk about how he felt because of what he saw and what he experienced, and he started crying, and he hugged me, and he says, "Brother," he says, I've never been able to talk to anybody about this, and he says, "I want to thank you so much for doing this." He says, "Never ever have I told anybody about what I heard, what I saw, what I did, what I had to do." He says, "And you were able to do that." And I get very emotional because it makes me feel really, really good that I was able to do that for a brother veteran, because you hear so much about them, about where they are, and what they're doing. They're homeless, they're on drugs, and I was able to communicate with this guy. And it not only happened once, but it happened twice. This other guy, he was just bawling, and I was able to hook him up with another volunteer that happened to be in the same place that he was at the same time. And they got to talking, and it was like deja vu, man. Guy came up to me and he thanked me, and same thing. He says, thank you, brother, thank you." And I think we have to give of ourselves, and today I do. I volunteer in the community. I volunteer in the library. I help in the literacy program, and I help Chicanitos that don't know how to read. They have a hard time reading, and I've decided that I can't save the world, but I can save a little part of it. And I also am a mentor at Monte Vista Elementary in West Covina, where we work with at-risk little kids. And my feeling is, I will help to give these kids a chance. And I am able to do that because of where I live, because of our freedom. And I feel very proud of what I've done. And I would do it again in a minute. And I think my family will remember me for being so giving, because of it's very hard for me to say no. You want it, okay, you got it. You need some help, all right, I'll do it. And whenever I know of a veteran, it doesn't matter what theater they served in, it's welcome home. I give them a hug and welcome home. And I may not know the man, but I'll shake his hand and I'll welcome home. And it's important. It's necessary. And it's time that they're recognized.
Well, thank you very much for your interview. Thank you very much.
Welcome.